once again to the video. And this one, following on from recent videos that I've done where I've listed the top 10 winners, Grand Prix winners in Formula 1, and the top 10 pole position winners in Formula 1. This time I shall be doing a list of the top 10 fastest laps of all time, not just the current crop of drivers in 2024, but from all time. I always find this a very odd list. Some strange names and numbers in the top 10, and indeed outside the top 10. But anyway, let's start at the very top. So we have in first place. Now, I need to make sure that this is in focus all the time. So we have number 1 spot, of course, is Michael. I say of course, but it's normally Lewis Hamilton, of course. Michael Schumacher with a grand total of 77. 77 fastest laps, which doesn't seem like a lot for the most. Let's see. Yeah, doesn't seem like a lot for the most, does it? But that's what it is. In second place, Lewis Hamilton. Now, this is the only major stat that Hamilton is not ahead in. Number of points, number of race wins, number of pole positions, and of course number of championships. He's joint top, but this is the only one that he isn't in first place of the major ones, which is surprising. I don't know if he's raced in more races than Schumacher, actually, because Schumacher raced in a great number of races, so I'm not sure. I'll do another list. Probably in this same break, 4-week break in September, I'll do another list, writing down the number of races that they've taken part in. Now, third place. Now, this is an odd one. Third place, Kimi Räikkönen. Yes, now Kimi Räikkönen was super fast. We all know that, 46. But all these drivers are super fast. You know, Senna was super fast. So what enabled Räikkönen to be in third spot, I don't know. It's but there he is, comfortably in third place. Fantastic driver, though. At his best in his McLaren days, as I always say, in my opinion, more so than in his Ferrari days. Okay, so now we're going to go with fourth. Now, this is a big surprise. In fourth spot, I'm glad to see him there, but I'm very surprised. Prost, 41. Now, I knew who was top and I knew who was second in this list off the top of my head, but I have to say I'd forgotten that Prost was still so high up and that Räikkönen was so high up. So I was very surprised when I looked this up. And I was even more surprised that I was surprised. I was surprised that I was surprised, because normally I know all these figures because I used to record stats back before the internet, and the only way of having all these figures and all these statistics was if you recorded them all yourself. Back then I used to do that, so I would buy a book. I remember in 1989 I bought a stats book. I can't remember what it was called now, but I do have the book, so I should actually do a video on it. It's full of stats, and up to 1989, of course, up to halfway through 89, I think it is. it's not the book, if you're thinking, it's not the book that I've previously done a video on that goes up to halfway through 1987. This is a different book, and I had that book and I had some other books as well, and I would record the stats down continuing from those, so that would be my baseline, and then I would add every Grand Prix figures after that, because there would be no other way of finding out what the figures were, what the most up-to-date pole positions, wins, fastest laps, everything. And I used to do so many statistics for different circuits, all the different countries, the nationalities of the drivers, so many different types of stat, and I loved it. But then along came the internet and made all of that pretty pointless. Okay, so 5th spot. We have Sebastian Vettel. Not necessarily surprising that he's there. He's well up there with wins and pole positions. But 38, yes, I'm not surprised with him. I'm surprised that Hamilton is not first, although I knew he wasn't first before doing this list. Prost in 4th place still, that's incredible. When you consider that Prost was seen as, his nickname was the Professor, because of the way he would sort of gradually win a race, basically, using tactics. He was very fast, but he would also use tactics. And he would feel like, rather than do a really fast lap right now, I think I'll just do 5 good quality, but not super fast laps, and then I'll end up in the lead. He was that sort of person. Very tactical, and so it's surprising that he would have 41. I would expect Senna to be in the top 5, as Senna was all about out-and-out pace, as was shown by the number of pole positions he had. So I'm very surprised that on a statistic that is all about speed and one lap performance, I'm amazed that Prost is there in 4th place. Anyway, let's scrub this out and we'll put the next 5 in. Okay, good. So I need to check the focus again in a minute. So we're looking at 6th place, aren't we? And in 6th place, he had to be there at some point, didn't he? Verstappen. I always want to say Verstappen. Verstappen? Sounds a bit German, doesn't it, when you say that? Verstappen. Or is it Verstappen, or is it just Verstappen? I suppose the English pronunciation is Verstappen. Maybe Dutch would be Verstappen, or would it be Verstappen? I don't know. Right, so surprising that Verstappen's only had 32, but he's not been going tremendously long, really. He's only in his 9th season. I suppose that is long, though, these days, with the amount of races you get every year. But the thing is, of course, these days we have a point for fastest lap, and because of that, you'll get cheeky little monkeys popping up at the last minute to record one, like Daniel Ricciardo. Even though he wasn't getting a point, he was taking a point off Norris. So in reality, that wouldn't have happened if there wasn't a point for fastest lap. Norris would have had that fastest lap. And so you'll often get drivers getting in there, lower drivers towards the back of the grid, popping in there with fastest laps, which has sort of watered down the whole thing of a fastest lap, because now anyone, if you put on soft tyres on the penultimate lap, you're probably going to get fastest lap on the last lap, even if you're Sargeant, you know, or Zhou or something like that. You can easily just still get fastest lap. So it has taken away the kudos of having fastest lap a little bit, giving a point for fastest lap. But there were points of fastest lap back in the 50s. I believe I believe in the 50s, for about the first 10 years of Formula One, there was a point for fastest lap, I do believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was. Anyway. Now, is this in focus? Yeah, hopefully it is in focus. So 7th place we have my favourite, Nigel Mansell, 1992 Formula One World Champion, 30 fastest laps. I'm not surprised that he's in the top 10 because he was blisteringly quick. You could argue that over an entire race distance, maybe Prost was better. Over an entire championship, maybe Prost was able to massage a race better than Mansell. Some people could argue that. It's possibly true. Mansell had a lot of bad luck, but maybe he had bad luck because he wore out his car too quickly. Who knows? But he was blindingly fast. But I'm surprised he's not ahead of Prost. I was very surprised by that. So 8th place is Jim Clark. Look at that. Well, he's still right up there in the top 10 for pole positions. So we shouldn't be surprised that he's there in the top 10 in fastest laps. Or should we? Because he died in 1968 in a Formula 2 race, having won the championship in 63 and 65. He didn't take part in that many races. And yet there he is in the top 10 in 8th place of fastest laps. In his Lotus. Very impressive. He won all his races and both his championships in a Lotus. 9th, Alonso. That surprises me somewhat. I've never seen him as being a out-and-out super quick driver. I've always seen him as being a bit more of a Prost. A bit more of a thinking man's driver. A bit more tactical. But then again, Prost is in 4th place. So what am I talking about? What am I saying? He should be in there if Prost is in there. But yeah, 26. He's taken part in so many races though, so maybe he should. And 10th place, last but not least, Mika Häkkinen. Again, a bit surprised there. So there's lots of people on this list that I'm surprised. 2 double world champions, actually 3 double world champions, making up the last 3 in the top 10. Clark, Alonso and Häkkinen. And were they all world champions in the top 5? They were, yeah. So the whole top 10 are world champions, which is how it should be. But there you go, Mika Häkkinen. Champion in 98 and 99, super fast in the McLaren in 98. He was incredibly quick. So am I surprised? Not really, but he didn't take part in a great many races. The big surprise for me is Ayrton Senna. Senna, I won't write it on here because it's not really in your room. Unless I put it up here, maybe. Should I put it here? Maybe I'll put it here. Senna is in 16th equal spot on 19. And another interesting one, 36th equal spot, Norris on 10. It didn't quite fit in, did it? Oh well, I've said it's 10 anyway, so. Shall I try and squeeze? Let me try and squeeze that in a little bit. Let's just move that in a little bit. I'll do that again, yeah. So we've got in 16th, let me move it across here. 16th equal, Senna on 19. 36th equal, Norris on 10. We know that Norris has been specialising this season in dropping in fastest laps towards the end of the race. He has to do that, of course, this year, because if he left it till 10 laps before the end of the race, one of the 4 Red Bull cars would be utilised to get the fastest lap. And that's the unfortunate thing now with this point for fastest lap. I doubt they were doing those tactics back in the 50s. They wouldn't have been. They wouldn't have had the same access to the same information in order to be able to do that. Nowadays, of course, they do, so they can do tactical fastest lap go-getting. And that's what happened with Ricciardo. Ricciardo wasn't the fastest driver in Singapore, of course. God, it's raining heavily outside at the moment. Yeah, he wasn't the Ricciardo wasn't the quickest driver, but if anybody comes in and changes tyres on the penultimate lap, they'll get fastest lap. Magnussen would have got fastest lap had he not had his after he had his puncture a few laps before the end. He came out and went for it, and he might not have even particularly gone for it. There would have been no motivation for Magnussen to take the fastest lap. But you know, if you're on fresh tyres, low fuel, you're going to accidentally get fastest lap, and that's the problem. But Magnussen had his time taken away from him for track limits. But yeah, that's the thing that happens these days. Drivers are getting accidental fastest laps, or they're getting tactical fastest laps at the end of the race, and it doesn't relate to who is actually the fastest. But anyway, it's the way it is. So what can we do? So but yeah, Senna there, or Norris, already has more than half the number of fastest laps that Ayrton Senna had in his career, which is amazing. Well done, Norris. Okay, so thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so, or like the video, or comment, or leave a tip below the thanks button, on the thanks button below the video. And I will see you, hopefully, on the very next video. Thank you very much, and goodbye.